I got a question today from a young guy who is a white belt in jiu-jitsu, right? And he's got into jiu-jitsu and he's excited about it. He wants to get into competitions. And he's asking me, one, should white belts be working on leg locks, right? And then two, should he be working on leg locks with the idea that he's going to compete? Because he knows he won't be able to use certain leg locks for a different period of time, depending on the advanced levels of competition he gets into. So to answer your question, first off, yeah, I teach the white belts all learn leg locks here because I think it's important, both for safety reasons, but also for reasons where, as they get up to higher levels of competition, I don't want to have a purple belt or brown belt learning how to use leg locks for the first time, right? It's a bad idea. But there is something that's important. If you're going to compete, one of the things that I've seen a couple times with some of our white belts is like they'll get into leg locks and they'll really like the knee bar. Or I've got one white belt, man, he loves leg locks. It's what he wants to do all the time. But he can't use half of his moves or even more than that. And again, he's going to be a blue belt soon. But he can't use a lot of the techniques because if he competes anyway, because if he competes, well, he's not going to be able to use a heel hook, a knee bar, toe hold, all that stuff. We don't mind them playing around with them in class, but not in competition. And so recently we had a competition where several of our white belts went out and scored a bunch of like ankle locks, straight ankle locks. And so what I wanted to do in this video is one is to encourage you to play with leg locks as a white belt, but also steer you towards, developing your straight ankle lock, since that's what you're going to be able to use in a competition more often than not. And again, it can be a very viable submission for a lot of different ways, whether you're passing guard, whether you're going for sweeps, whatever it is. And so I'm going to show you two entries, some concepts and some ideas on the position, and then also show you how to avoid getting DQ'd for something stupid like a reap. And we'll also talk about why you should learn them and how it can lead to other positions down the road. So let's jump into this video. As always, it's my lovely assistant, Mr. Adam Wilson. Let's get started. So let's take a look at the setups. Show you two basic setups, some details on them, and then we'll get into the ideas on like the reap and stuff like that too. Make sure you don't get DQ'd. So again, if you're in a passing position of any sort here where the legs are out, this can be a good ankle lock. Again, ankle locks are interesting in the fact that even if you just get good with an ankle lock where you threaten with them, it can make your guard passing way better. Because you think about it, if he's going to be if he's going to be aggressive with his guard retention, that usually means that his legs are going to be working, right? And if his legs are extended, it's just the same as if his arm is extended. He can push you away, but there is a danger of being caught. And this means that this leg is in danger for all kinds of stuff. This is why, again, if you're facing someone that's got really good leg locks, you're going to be really careful to bring your legs in. You don't want to be reaching out with them. And if you're a white belt going into a competition, if you're out here like in a standing passing position and you're moving, if you get out here, you're going to start to feel those legs reach out for you, okay? Now, if the person's savvy to it, if you start to attack with the ankle lock, he's going to pull his foot back, which again can open up the pass. But if they don't, then this is a great option for you to get a leg lock. So again, super simple. We're going to take a step in, get a bite on the leg. Now, I don't like to go straight for the ankle, just because again, a lot of times it'll slip out. If this person knows what they're doing, he can easily slip his heel out of there. So again, stepping in here and then swimming this leg out, I'll start with a bite on the calf and it'll slide down. Now, right now, I'm far too high to finish the ankle lock, and so we have to make some small adjustments here. When I make my small adjustments, when I put my position in just a second, I'll use my secondary hand to lift, and then for me, for lack of a better term, I want to show my bicep to the crowd, okay? So if you've ever looked at bodybuilding, they'll do that side bicep pose where they flex. I want to get his toes tucked into my armpit. Again, if I'm doing an ankle lock, right, come in real quick so we can take a look at this. So if I'm doing an ankle lock, I don't want to be up here, okay? If I look over my shoulder and I can see the person's little piggies, that means I'm too like high up. I'm going to be digging into his calf and his muscle there, which maybe, that'll like get the tap because he's like sensitive there. But if we want a good ankle lock, we want to be down low because we are doing an ankle lock. So I want to have my force attacking the actual ankle joint, not up here. Again, a lot of times you'll see some nasty snaps from that, which isn't ideal. We want to get here. And then also too, when we get here, this it puts the toes and smashes them down. It's a nasty position because you're getting in like this, and everything's smashing down. So the toes get crushed up, the ankle's attacked really strong, okay? So again, if you have trouble with that, if you get a little bit too high, we take our secondary hand, reach back, get lower, and then bang, right into position. Now, as far as finishing grips, if we got the gi, we can use that collar, right? Because again, what's going to happen a lot of times, especially if you're in the gi, they're going to sit up and start trying to grab you so you can't extend. So you can load up with one and you can break and then get the other one. You got a figure four grip, or you've got your basic guillotine, okay? So that's the basic adjustment that we would use to finish. Now, let's look at that with that setup. So again, maybe you're trying to pass, and this person's trying to reach out with the legs, we step in. So if I'm gonna attack this leg, I'm gonna step across, pinning in the hamstring, getting the bite on that calf, and then from there, pick it up, shoot into position. Now from here, I can make my adjustment, switch up and get lower. Now, again, if he comes up and grabs a hold of my collar, no problem. I can feed that hand, pin, and I can finish this, no problem, okay? I can also adjust, finish with a figure 4 or regular grip there. Now again, when we finish, we wanna make sure we pinch the knees tight, and we're gonna be turning, going face down and getting the full extension, because what that's gonna do is that's going to allow us to be able to extend full out and potentially get the break. Obviously the break is not what we're typically after. We're after getting the tap. Now, one more entry from to the top, and then we'll talk a little bit about the position, not getting caught in this. A stupid reap call, so dumb. Like, the reap wasn't even a thing back when I started. Like, when I was a white belt, there was no such thing as a reap. It was just move the damn foot out of the way. So anyway, back in my day, old timer stuff, right? If they stand up over you, one that worked really well for my guys is if they're in this position, we can start to go for things like dummy sweeps, where if you've ever seen like Marcel Garcia, that's where I learned it from. You know, you can kick in and you can push right here. Now, if they don't fall back, what ends up happening is they have to base, and they have to brace their legs down, and that allows us to double scoop, and then we can get right in here. Now, again, the foot is posted against the hip. This knee, we crush down with the heel so that we can bring our knee in. And then from here, we want to do a little twist sweep. The way we do this is we hip up and bring our knees down. Now, I would be controlling the ankle the whole time, but I just wanted to give that exaggeration of the hips there. Now it's the same exact finish that we did earlier, right? So again, lots of ways that we can get into this. One of my other white belts, he did a butterfly sweep from here, which was really easy to get into. But again, it doesn't take much to do. Person sitting there trying to pass with you, we can push, kick, grab, shoot underneath, and get right into position. Hip up and twist, readjust, and again, take a look at the action back to where the foot is. Okay, so right now, this is no dice. No good, I can't finish this. Scoop underneath, get it over top of those toes. And that's where it gets going. And if you watch Adam, this is how you know it's good. They start going, ah, like as soon as they get there. And I'm the same way. Adam and me both have these kind of thin ankles. So like, I don't really like ankle locks too much. So they hurt me. Now, real quick, lay down real quick. Put me an ankle lock. So, important stuff. So what the hell is a reap anyway? For any of you guys that are newer white belts that are watching, what the hell is a reap, right? Well, the reap is when the leg comes in from this angle, right? From under and then on the outside and then cuts across. Now the idea is that it's beginning to push my knee inward and could potentially injure me, which they are right. But check this out. When someone begins to reap you, especially from an ankle lock position, you can move their foot. That's amazing, isn't it? Just blow your mind. Right? But you have to be careful because again, one, if you can get really excited, especially if you're not disciplined with this position, this foot can easily venture over like this, and some people will call you on this really quickly like this. And again, you're really not doing anything to my knee, but this foot cutting across can get you called with the reap call. Also, there are some unscrupulous jiu-jitsu practitioners out there, you gotta watch for them, that will do this thing. One of my students, no kidding, the guy did this, and then goes, the ref like DQs my student. My student, one of his buddies was recording, and the guy gets up and winks, right? He winks at his teammate like, I got another one, right? And the dude had done this at several tournaments. If you're one of those people, don't do that. Like, have some honor, right? Like, go actually battle. And if you get submitted, take it, but don't try, I'm hurting, okay? Anyway, we're in the position to make sure this doesn't happen. Where Adam's foot is, you use that sucker like a hand and let it cup around the hip here. So if I start trying to move this sucker, it doesn't move. Don't casually place this leg in position. Okay. Also, something else that can get you in trouble later on, make sure that on your secondary leg, this foot doesn't come over here in the center. A lot of people would do that back in the day. The problem with that is, let's turn this direction here. The problem with this foot being here is, again, it doesn't have good control of this leg, but also two, there's actually a little heel hook here where I can get in and like pull his heel up. So again, this leg here is catching under the hamstring, and he's basically making this connection with the knee to the heel, and it's so tough. And he should be able to, if he's pinching tight with his knees, if I start to scoop, he should be able to stay right with me. And again, that's a really strong spot if you're a white belt, getting good at it. If you can get good at this position, then later on, when you have heel hooks and everything else, you can easily transfer into other positions. Because again, if I'm in here, like, and I've got this ankle lock here, well, then it doesn't take much to start to switch into other positions here that I might want to go to, right? If I want to play in some of the other leg lock positions, you can go right to them because you have such a good straight ankle lock position. You know, Ashigarami, single leg X, whatever the hell you want to call it. So again, if you're a white belt getting ready to be focused on competitions, my encouragement to you is play with legs, learn them. And if you're going to master a leg lock, or you're not going to master it as a white belt, if you're going to begin that process of mastery, you're going to dive into it whole hog. My encouragement is just to go into the straight ankle lock. This way you don't venture into the weeds with a really good submission that then you can't use for like a year or two until you get your blue belt, purple belt, or if we're talking about a heel hook, maybe not until you're a brown or black belt, depending on the competition. So my encouragement would be to start with that straight ankle lock, and then afterwards, maybe if you start getting into more advanced competitions, then you really start to branch out into the other stuff. And so again, hopefully that's useful to you. And yeah, I'm finished. Adam?